I think for me, being a marriage and family therapist is more than a job, it's a calling. There's never been so much pressure on families and marriages as there is today. Family's not deemed important in this culture anymore. The experiences that I've had as a teenager, as a mother, as a wife, are also those things that really give me the ability to speak into the lives of other people as well. One of the crucial things that we want to do is to not only be able to work in the lives of young people specifically, but to broaden that to the family. That's what the calling is upon my life, is to do what maybe Jesus did, and that is to heal a lot of the brokenness in people's lives. That's my passion, that's my calling, bind up the brokenhearted and to minister to people. It's to be able to extend the love of Christ to them. And it's one where I think that God can use me particularly in order to communicate His love and His mercy to those who are hurting.
Well, I'm 40 years old and I'm still in youth ministry.
I'm still doing youth ministry here in the high school for like 9 years down in the county. My passion, I think, stems from the passage in the Bible where it talks about the shepherd and the 100 sheep, and he brings the 100 sheep into the fold. At the end of the day, he counts them. There's only 99 of them, and he goes out and searches for the one. When he discovers the sheep, he grabs the sheep and carries it back. When he gets home, he rejoices at bringing it back into the fold and finding it. In the county, there's about 1,000 high school age teenagers alone, and it's not one teenager that's lost down there, it's 800 that are lost down there.
And my passion isn't to reach out to the church teens, my passion is to reach out to the non-church teens.
Passion is to communicate it with the kids. Let them make the choice, an informed decision about who Jesus is.
And at the end of the day, the decision's ultimately theirs, and I'm just laying the foundation for them to make that choice. So that's what my passion is.
When I was in high school, I got introduced to this guy named Jesus. And there was somebody that was very instrumental in my life who brought me along in that process. As I got a little bit older, I had this developing passion to build into high school students. I started to realize that, man, I could be that same instrumental person in other people's lives. I couldn't just help myself, but to make a change in teens' lives, realizing that I was able to combine my passion for Christ and my passion to reach high school students and put them together. Now I have this opportunity to work with Youth for Christ, and I'm just so excited and passionate about reaching teens for Christ.
The reason I'm passionate to work with teenagers is because I went through a rough experience when I was in high school myself. Local youth group that I went through a lot of traumatic events, losing a number of different youth pastors. We had some bad leadership. A lot of my friends turning their back on the church, turning their back on God even, because they didn't feel like they could trust God because of the type of people that followed Him. I see a lot of kids going through that today. They don't trust the church anymore. They don't trust the church leaders anymore, and the church culture is totally foreign to them. And that's something I don't like. And I just don't want to see a bunch of kids have to go through that like I did. I felt God call me very specifically and ask me to be a role model for these kids. I think Christ is relevant to all of us, and I want to show these kids a model and an example of how Christ can truly change someone's life. And ultimately, I want to introduce them to Jesus Christ, because that's why I'm passionate to work with these kids.
The thing that gives me passion to work with Youth for Christ in Center Hastings is actually a Bible verse that God gave me about 2 years ago. And I was contemplating what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Judges 2:10 says, "After that whole generation was gathered to their father, a new generation grew up, not knowing God nor what He had done for them." So that's kind of what gives me my passion, because I believe that those people who are growing up not knowing God and what He's done for them are the youth of today. Romans 6:23 says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is righteousness through Jesus Christ, our Savior." So I believe that's my job to share with them that life-saving message of Jesus, so that they don't need to pay that debt. And I just believe that that's who I'm here to work with. So that's what gives me passion to work in Center Hastings with Youth for Christ.
What am I passionate about? When I do this ministry, I see three things coming together. It's almost like baking a good cake. One is the unlimited potential of young people. Secondly, is the passion of our staff. We have a staff that are committed to the cause and are passionate about reaching kids for Christ. And you add on the third, which is the biggest element, which really ties all the other ingredients together, is the power of God to change and transform lives. With those three things happening, I think there's a huge potential to see lives change in our community. Because if it's not God transforming lives, then we're just doing youth work and not youth ministry. And God's called us in this community with Youth for Christ, now called Youth Unlimited, to be involved in a ministry with God to transform lives. And I'll tell you, I get excited about that.